Everyone who has played or currently plays WoW dreams of a fresh from time to time. You think about what it was like back when you first started playing the game. And this involves more than just what was going on in the game. For a lot of people, just logging into Classic WoW reminds them of a time in their life that felt so magical, innocent, and a lot less crazy. Certain family members or loved ones may have still been around. Maybe you were just a kid itching to get home from school and log on. Or maybe you were a bit older and just didn't have an insane amount of responsibilities yet. For some people, that was 20 years ago, and for others, much more recent. But whenever you started playing, you remember and cherish your first few moments in the game. It also brings back all of those memories of everything that was going on in your life outside of the game as well. Hearing the sounds of Elwyn Forest, slaying boars in the Stonefield Farm, or venturing over the bridge into Westfall a bit too early and getting unalived by a flesh ripper. All of these things bring us back to a time when things were simpler, back to a time when everything was more fun, back to a time when things felt fresh. Now let me start by saying this. Nostalgia is a powerful thing. In 2004, WoW was an absolutely massive experience. We weren't just playing a game. We were diving into a new universe. A universe that was just begging to be explored. The possibilities felt endless, and essentially they were. But just so you all know, nostalgia isn't a time machine. It's just a lens through which we see everything brighter and better. Replaying Classic helps to remind us of that past, but sadly, a lot of us are just not the same players anymore. We don't live in the same house or talk to the same friends. Things are just different now. Our expectations have drastically evolved, and so have the games we play. Back then, gaming culture was just a lot smaller and way less interconnected. Information was shared at a much slower pace, and if you didn't know where Mancrick's wife was, well, you just didn't know. Nowadays, we have streamers, guides, and everything just has the fun optimized out of it. The mystery and the unknown that made WoW special back then was replaced with efficiency and optimization. This isn't the worst thing in the world, it's just how gamers have naturally evolved. If someone can do something in half the amount of time, even if it's less fun, most of the time, that's what they'll do. Now let's talk about the player base. At the time of WoW's original launch, most gamers were exploring MMOs for the first time. Compare that to now, most classic players are veterans chasing nostalgia, or super competitive players looking for a new challenge. This essentially means that the way we play is just different now. Instead of aimlessly wandering around looking for a quest to pick up, most players just spam the same dungeon back to back for hours on end because it's the fastest way to reach level 60. We saw this on display in every single version of Classic since 2019. Trying to play a non-meta class or spec? Good luck finding a raid spot, am I right? As great as the game is, it has this one major flaw. And that flaw is deep within the game design. The game was designed to be played at a much slower pace. But as with anything that's been around for 20 years, it's all been researched and figured out 1,000 times over. From 2019 to 2024, Classic players did the min-max thing. Players rushed, parsed, raced, and conquered just about every challenge they possibly could in the game, myself included. Now don't get me wrong, I really did love every second of it. I've gotten my 99 and 100 parses multiple times, but it gets to a point where optimizing the fun out of the game starts to get stale and boring. There's nothing left to discover. There's nothing left to figure out. And none of it feels fresh anymore. For some reason, I feel like the day will come that this mentality changes a bit. And I feel like that day may be sooner than we think. I'm starting to see a shift in a large portion of the community. A lot of players are talking about how the next Fresh launch might be different. People want to just play a little bit slower. They don't care as much about meta chasing, rushing to 60, and speed clearing raids. Some players just want to take their time and enjoy the journey to level cap with everything it has to offer. And others are just waiting for the Burning Crusade relaunch and are just going to be playing casually until then. But whatever the reasoning is, a good amount of people seem to have a different mindset going into this next Fresh. And I gotta say, I'm loving it. We already beat the game 100 times over. Everyone needs to stop and smell the roses this time. Play your non-meta Ret Paladins, Shadow Priests, Boomkins, and Enhanced Shamans. I have a feeling this time around there will be a lot more casual-friendly guilds that aren't trying to chase metas and exclude suboptimal specs. Sure, there will still be some sweaty gatekeepy guilds out there, but you don't have to join them. In my opinion, you as the player control your destiny in this game. And if your goal is to have fun, go on a nostalgia trip, and get lost in the world, do that. I think the more players that choose to play like that, the better. I fully encourage it. There's nothing left to prove in Classic. It's all been done a million times over, and I think it's time everyone comes home and grounds themselves a little bit. There will always be sweaty players out there chasing the next speedrun record for Blackwing Lair, but that doesn't mean that you're forced to play the same way if you don't enjoy it. Join a more casual-friendly guild, and if it doesn't exist, maybe you should start one. Bring new or unskilled players through raids for the first time and help them experience that magic that you felt all those years ago. Now is the time for Classic players to cool off, and maybe try to appreciate the little things. Who knows? Maybe you'll find something you never knew existed somewhere out in the world. Or maybe you'll discover that you really enjoy playing a spec that isn't considered the meta. The point I'm trying to make is, whether you're playing Classic Fresh for the first time, or playing for the third time, or even just casually playing waiting for TBC like the rest of us, try to just enjoy it. Don't burn yourself out. Don't play something you don't want to play just to have a raid spot. Pick your favorite class, enter the world, and enjoy your journey. And let your Fresh begin now.